The Monte and the Pharaoh.
The Monte and Pharaoh Show.
And you're watching the Monte and Pharaoh Show.
Monte and the Pharaoh.
With Monte and the Pharaoh.
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 Monte and Pharaoh.
Monte and the Pharaoh. And Monte and the Pharaoh. Oh, is it Monte and the Pharaoh?
Monte and Pharaoh.
The Monte and the Pharaoh Show.
Monte and the Pharaoh.
You've got the future Hall of Famer, that rocker, Marty Jannetty, and MJ in the house, and I'm sitting here with two more future Hall of Famers, Monte and the Pharaoh. We're doing that stuff, and we gonna rock it.
We're living this life, not just dreaming it, we're doing it for it. Straight to the top. Working hard every day just to live out that tower.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monte and the Pharaoh is seen only here in Huntington, New York, live from Rockstar Studios, live from Village Connection Radio. At the helm is Stephen Miller.
Hey-o!
Is that a surprise? And to the right is the star of the show, Jimmy Pharaoh. Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
Hello.
And over across is Mr. J.J. McGuire. Mr. McGuire, thanks for joining us. And Wisteria Hall's own Bart Griggs.
Bartman!
Off camera is Scott Casey. Scott, how are you?
Still kicking.
Still kicking. And then the guest of honor, none other than Hall of Famer, WWE Hall of Famer, Hillbilly Jim.
Spoken in my best hillbilly accent, Long Island.
Oh, look at
Long Island too. Okay. I had a few of them at Nassau Coliseum in my time.
That's what I was about to say.
I used to live at Coliseum out of Union. Is that Uniondale?
Uniondale, yeah.
Uniondale.
I used to remember back in. Big thing about that, I love the Nets, the New Jersey
Nets.
When Dr. J was there, man, they were bad. Long Island,
You were here during that time?
No, I remember them. I remember that basketball team. From down in Kentucky, you had the Kentucky Colonels.
That's right.
So they had a big rivalry kind of thing going down
did.
there with the Colonels, with Dan Issel and and Gilmore, Ernest Gilmore, and man, those were the days that ABA basketball. That was my thing, man.
Yeah.
Of course, McGuire knows he's a Kentucky boy down there. We know how bad that Kentucky bleeds down there basketball.
The Blue Nation.
They're crazy about that basketball.
Were you a basketball guy?
I was.
You're a tall guy.
I was first team All-State in Kentucky, and I had about 35 college scholarships. I finally wound up going to 4 or 5 different schools. They just didn't seem to work for me, but I got to stop at a lot of different schools and hang out for a while there, and until I realized that it wasn't cut out for me. I played a little bit of pro ball for a little bit in Europe over there in the European Basketball League up in Belgium for a while. I got me an agent one time out of Chicago. A guy named his name was Rudoy. I've heard Rudoy. He was a big time agent for European basketball. And I went over and tried to do that, but that didn't work for me. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I tried it and tried out for the 76ers one time.
How'd that go?
Good. I kept me till I was a walk-in there. I stayed. They had a kid named Steve Mix. You remember that guy?
Yep.
Steve Mix. He was the token white guy. He jumped back that high, maybe on a good day. Maybe that high, right? No, good player from Toledo or somewhere, right?
Serviceable.
And they kept him around because he was a good PR guy in town.
Because he was white.
They need the white guy.
You need a white guy.
Yeah, I got it. I wouldn't man, but he's a good player. But he was. I think he was a college All-American. But I was in the camp that he was in, and of course they were going to keep him because they'd already drafted him. But anyway, it's just funny how the whole circle of things go around. And
being residents of Kentucky and remembering the Kentucky Colonel days, I know that the college team is more than self-sufficient. You guys long for a professional team to return?
Well, they've got that big, huge, gigantic center there called the Yum Center in Louisville, Kentucky, which is a big albatross. The only thing that supports it primarily is University of Louisville basketball and whatever they can have there. And they say it would, if it was in the pro circuit, it would probably be the first or maybe the second best arena in the whole NBA now.
Right.
And, it's funny that they didn't have a pro basketball team there because when John Y. Brown was the guy that owned with the Kentucky Colonels, they sold it. That's when the NBA merged with them and took a few of those teams.
4 of them.
They kind of wish they'd stayed because I believe Louisville would probably at least be as good a fan base or better than Memphis or probably Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see how it goes. It's going to be hard to get over University of Kentucky basketball.
Yep. So tell me, how do we get from basketball to pro wrestling?
Well, I've always been an athlete and worked out in gyms and been around guys, and I started meeting guys in gyms and in Kentucky and got a few people that kind of, I always watched pro wrestling. That was in the days when you'd watch it on the weekends only. Mm-hmm. It wasn't on 5-6 times during the week, right?
No.
And you could only see it maybe 30-40 minutes a weekend, Scott. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And boy, I would watch it.
It was special.
Yeah, it was a special deal. It was, and then it finally started. It took off on that super station out of Atlanta, and that's when I started noticing Georgia Championship Wrestling, and that's when I started noticing the caliber of men that was in there. I said, they didn't look just like guys you'd see out there mowing the yard. Wrestle like in some of the territories we'd see. These guys looked like that. Jimmy Snuka was down there, and Orndorff was a young guy. There was a lot of guys. There was guys that were really physical. It got kind of attracted me to it. Butch Reed was there. Ron Simmons and those guys. They all come through there. And so that's what kind of got me on that road. And then I ran into a few people and got a little advice from some guys. And it didn't take me very long to get in. A friend of Scott's and I was Bruce Swayze, a Canadian guy by way of Kentucky. He kind of gave me a little bit of mentoring and got me going. And then I broke in down there with a guy that's not alive anymore. JJ, you might remember this guy from over around the Russell Springs, Kentucky, a guy named Dale Mann. Yes, he's the guy that kind of had a little territory. He approached me one day at a theater. I'd been at the university, Western Kentucky University that day, me and a couple buddies of mine, having my workout, and we went to a movie that afternoon, and this guy walked up to me and he said, "Hey, my name is Dale Mann," and he said, "My son Mike sees you at Western Kentucky University all the time in the gym working out," and he said, "I wondered if you were thinking about getting in wrestling." I said, "Well, I've thought about that before, and I pursued it a little bit on a couple occasions, but never really went anywhere. Yes, I would." So we made arrangements that very day. Within a week or 10, I started working out with him, and that's kind of what got me going. And then everything just fell in. I didn't have to tarry a real long time and go to a lot of different territories, which was good for me because a lot of people hadn't seen me before. And so I didn't have to spend a long, long time getting my break. Mm-hmm. And when I got my foot in my door, I just stayed with it, guys.
Where does Orton Sr. come into the picture?
Bob Orton?
Yeah.
I just loved him. He just was one of my... Well, he was just kind of a hero to me, know.
Okay.
And
was he one of the guys you patterned yourself?
Not really. I kind of knew of him. I took the Hillbilly thing was just that's some kind of who puts in for a hillbilly gimmick? Nobody. I mean, you want something slick. You would. You're the Long Island hillbilly. But in that day, you just got to get your foot in the door. I first went to Memphis with his buddy Jimmy Hart, and I was done. I did a gimmick called Harley Davidson. Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool, and I love doing Harley because I had a tag team partner, a real tough guy named Roger Smith, and they called him Dirty Rhodes. And when I say tough guy, this guy was tough. I mean, they'd have to call SWAT to come get him out of his house every once in a while for different things he would do. But anyway, I loved the guy, and I loved doing that. But when I got my chance to get into the WWF at that time, well, you can't merchandise Harley Davidson. Try that and see how long that lasts. Mm-hmm. So they threw that away. So I went from being an outlaw biker guy they said, well, Chief Jay Strombo said, you says, we haven't had a hillbilly in a while.
We've had an Italian Indian. But
speaking of, bite your tongue. How dare you say that about Joe Scarpa? Scarpa Littlefoot. Or whatever.
Chief Mozzarella.
Oh, I'll tell you.
Chief Mozzarella.
Hey, you're not wrong. And the whole deal was, it come down so quick with George Scott and him and Vince and myself, and we're talking that evening after they saw me work a little bit for a little match that I did in, I think it was New Haven, Connecticut. And we realized, we created it right there. We realized we got to do something else. And Chief said there hadn't been a hillbilly. Well, I guess he was thinking about Haystacks Calhoun, and he was thinking about the Scuffling Hillbillies. And I told those guys, I said, well, I'm not a hillbilly, but I know a lot of hillbillies, and I can damn sure be a hillbilly.
Oh my God, that's funny.
So that's really where it was. And I'll fast forward past that a little bit. That was funny.
Well, I want to stay on Chief Jay Strongbow for a bit. We've had some guys in here, and
oh boy,
they're not big fans of Chief Jay. They said he was very vindictive.
He hated me because of my jewelry. Jay wanted me. He didn't hate me, but Jay actually wanted me to drive to the damn towns. Now, how are you going to drive from Portland, Oregon to Sarasota, Florida, and then the next night shoot back up to Ogden,
so he
Utah?
was booking you.
Well, no.
Okay.
He wanted me to be in character all the time, like it was in the old days of the business when we had to protect the business. And, like, go to downtown New York and look up at skyscrapers and go, wee, doggies, that sure is. Man, that's a mighty tall building. We always, granted, could see that, And, all that's cool, but for us to get to these buildings you got to go to the airport. So they wanted that real wrestling kayfabe thing to be, and we couldn't do that so much. So but I loved Chief. He was good to me. He always told me, you take all that jewelry off you. He said, you take that home. When you go home, he said, you'll be able to buy Fort Knox. He would say a lot of good things. He used to say some things to me that would get you mad. And you could hate on him if you wanted to, but he would always say stuff to me like, it ain't how much money you make, it's how much money you save. Right. He'd say things that were really good, He'd say things to me that I really picked. Now, he could be mean, and he could be really evil to you, and he could put you into some teases if he didn't like you. If you got on his bad side, since he had a lot of pull at the office there, he could turn it.
So his rep is somewhat.
Oh yes, absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely. Right. But brothers, I had a deal about me, and Scott can tell you, Jimmy. I never got no heat with nobody. You never hear nobody say anything about me because I treat everybody the same, man. Like I ain't down with that crap, man. I'm here to make my money and do my thing. I move on through. I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. Let me get myself and go on, move on. Because I was looking for something to do when I started doing this. That was my way. And I knew that I had an opportunity to get in that business, and that's why I knew it was my duty to reach out and grab as much of it as I could, whatever that meant. If that meant money, good. If it meant fame, or if it meant notoriety, whatever. Because I knew it wasn't going to last long. Because nothing lasts long, and there's nothing sadder than to see somebody stay around too long.
Well, you were get along type of guy, right? So we had
that hat's working for me. You're wearing, brother.
Well, that's the gimmick.
You are the man. You are the man. The man.
We had Animal in here, and he was pretty. We've got a couple. We have Evan Ginsberg, who has a show. He wrote was an associate producer for The Wrestler and 350 Days. I don't know if you're aware of those movies. He's a big proponent for professional wrestlers having insurance and pensions and yada yada yada. We had a discussion with Animal today about that particular thing, and he feels that the WWE should start ponying up money, and we had a discussion about unionizing. Were you around at the time when Ventura was trying to unionize you
absolutely.
guys? And what was your deal with that?
Is this still working? Did I mess this up because it came off of me? Am I okay? I'll just hold it here. Listen, man, here's my deal. That would have been nice if we had a union, and I know Jesse got a lot of heat, but that's been tried many times in the business, and it always gets shot down like the Hindenburg, man. Right. I mean, them promoters will pull the rug out of money, you be gone. My whole deal is, as I look back upon it now, I was a big boy when I got into business, and I was a big boy as I was in the business, and I realized this ain't gonna last forever. So I knew my duty. We were called what's called independent contractors. Mm-hmm. So I realized it's my duty, Scott Casey, to save my money. It's my duty to pay my taxes. I ain't gonna bitch and moan, but somebody ain't done me right. I don't care. If that's your bag and you want to do it, good. Hey, listen, I feel this way. They don't owe me nothing. No. The business don't owe me anything. I'm not mad. Now, if I get something, and I'll be honest with you, brothers, I still get merchandising checks about every 2-3 months of a residual.
As you should.
And listen, every time I do, sometimes there'll be a nice one, JJ. Sometimes it won't be much. But I'll be thinking, man, as long as I've been out of business, they don't have to do that for me if they don't want to. I'm grateful that they did. So I was one of those kind of guys that realized I have to look after myself, okay, when they were doing that. Now, it would be nice to be a part of an insurance. It'd be like kind of like getting Social Security when you get older or getting, Medicare or something paid. That'd be nice. But you have to go into it knowing it's not going to happen because it's not been there when you got there. And if it changes while you're there, then you're lucky you got in at the right time. But I went on and tried to make those provisions for myself because I didn't want to be one of those. I don't want to be bitter, okay? I don't want to be bitter and run around bitching mom. Oh, shoot. Look, man, listen, everybody makes more money now than we did. I wrestled one time 63 straight nights. 63. All over the nation. And I flew 53 of the 63 nights. These boys don't do that now. And I ain't mad because these kids that are doing it now are sweet kids. Every time I'm around them, they're nice to me. Listen, I'm not saying, it was better in my day than it is now. It was just the best it was at that day because the old timers before us, some of them were kind of vindictive, Scott can tell you. And they would be kind of mad at you. And they'd be hating on you, I didn't want to be that. And that's why these young boys now don't hate on us so much because we never treated them like that. Right. I'm always nice to those guys, And I just realized, you just get what you get out of it. If you get a good character and you get a good run out of it, it's your duty to look after yourself. That's the reason when I knew coming in this business that it wasn't going to last that long because I don't want to be around. Look at anybody that's been around this business very long and see what they look like. See how their life winds up. They're not all rainbows and fairy tales like Scott Casey, a beautiful man. There, look at that man. Twisted steel and sex appeal, so good looking he's almost unreal. I'm telling you right now. Look at him. The cat's meow.
He's a Tampa Bay fan. I don't know, man.
What? I lived down there for a few years.
Oh,
he's a buck.
All right. You're forgiven then, Scott.
He is?
Well, every other person was an old fart just like me.
What?
Sorry if I'm not supposed to say
Well, that's what.
You can say whatever you want.
That's what happens in Florida. That's where they go. That's where we all go. That's right. We want to go down there.
I think we're scheduled to go.
No, not yet. I'm not there yet. Don't push me along.
Sorry.
So, Jim, you get into WWE or WWF when it starting to make that turn and Vince is looking to take over. Are you aware that Vince is going to try to make these moves? Is he informing you guys that he's ready to start knocking all the territories out?
I've said this many times, yes, to answer your question. But the big deal is I'd rather be lucky than good, right, McGuire? Yeah, now, listen, you can go out here and earn $2 or $3 million, work your butt off and get it. But I'd rather find a suitcase where some guy dropped it off for Antonio, and I just happened to intercept it. So I was born in the right decade. Right. Jimmy McGuire, JJ, and our buddy, the Mouth of South, the Colonel Jimmy Hart says it right. We got woven into the fabric of America. Those guys in the 80s. Somehow or another we come along at the magical time. Right. Listen, I was so lucky I was on the right side of history in that deal. I got to be with the first WrestleManias and the first merchandising, the action figures and all the stuff that come along around it. And I just got to be into something that was very good, and I was so happy. I saw what he was doing with it, and I was just so happy that I was along for the ride. Because, in our day, when the WWF shows come to town, it was like the circus.
Yeah.
They didn't worry about, we don't go out there and sell time. We didn't go out there and do 30, 40 minutes like I told Scott because they had so many names on the ledger. You just went out there and did Hillbilly Jim stuff. I didn't go out there and do Hogan stuff. I never wanted to go out there and be too smart and wise up too much, start doing backdrops and Les Thornton moves. No, I didn't do that. I just did Hillbilly Jim stuff where you don't ever really get too good. You don't ever really smarten up too much. I'm still going to be Hillbilly because I ain't going to be out there for 10 to 15 minutes and it's going to be time for Cowboy Scott Casey and Ron Bass to come out. Or or Coco Beware, or Honky Tonk Man, or just the Bobby Ventura is going to go. So when the show came to town, I just wanted to do my little bit, and that was where the entertainment part of it come in. That's when I knew he was really taking it more towards shtick, than actual, the Johnny Valentine stuff, that and the Terry Funk stuff. The guys would do So, and I was just lucky. I mean, guilty.
They say that first impressions go a long way, and I got to say this, man. Your debut, you remember this? He's a fan in the crowd.
Yeah.
How long did this happen? A couple of weeks, right? You're a fan in the crowd, and then all of a sudden, You're involved directly, and that place exploded.
The whole deal is the whole thought scheme is that the longer you cook something, the hotter it gets.
It
right?
was awesome.
So they would take me to London, Ontario, or they take me to to Grimsby or wherever I'm going to go to. I'd sit in the garden. They let me buy a ticket. They give me a ticket, and I go in the garden with a backpack. And they'd always they had me seated where they put the camera on me. And Gorilla Monsoon and Lord Alfred Hayes got me. Look at that hillbilly there. I cannot believe it. Oh, he's a big one. He's a big WWF fan. He follows it all over the place. And I'd be out there just like I'd be twisting my hat. And I'd be going around, and I'd stay at the different. And it pissed me off. I'd had to stay at the worst hotels because I couldn't see the good girls. The hotels I'd be staying at, the good-looking girls weren't there. The boys would be at the good hotels, right? I'd be stuck off somewhere because they didn't want me too close to them because we were still kind of kayfabing a bit.
Right.
So. That worked for several months until finally I was at the TV taping in Poughkeepsie, and the deal went down when Ken Patera and Big John Studd with Bobby Heenan, they were going to cut Hogan's hair.
Right.
And the people turned on me and they said, I was up there and they said, get in there. Y'all want me to get in there? I said, and it was like and I jumped in there, and that's when I started.
The full Nelson,
yeah,
right. Oh, I went
that's nuts. Better than the Father Nelson. You don't want to see that.
Oh my God!
Hey, I might show it to you later if you haven't seen it.
No, you
dudes. But anyway, it was.
You like his hat, not mine.
Listen, your hat's great. Listen, it was just fun, and it was a big deal for me. But I learned a long time ago. Jay Strongbow said this too. He said, "You." He said, "You. You forget all that. You forget all that backdrops and all that damn slams and scoop slams and all." And that's what he said. He says, "You just do you. You just do." Because you see, that's what he did when he wrestled as an Indian.
Yeah.
He just woo.
He's a pretty technical genius. He could wrestle.
Oh, exactly right.
What?
I've seen him.
That chop that you saw.
I've seen him beat up some buffets to death. Yeah, and me too. But my point is, I just wanted to get in there and do my part. That's what I was supposed to do, and
you did.
And really, to tell you the truth, it's all about. You don't want to get over with the boys in the dressing room. The boys don't sign you a check. You want to get over with the fans. If the fans like you, you're over. All this, the guys used to always use that WORK. He can't work. What does that mean?
Yeah,
Dusty Rhodes never did that, but he sure could get over, couldn't he?
Yes, for a fat boy, he can
get
in well.
I'm just saying,
Right.
So that's kind of where I was. And listen, I was just happy to be along with the ride and to be around some. I got exposed to some of the greatest wrestlers in the whole history of the world. Andre, my buddy, and wrestle with Don Morocco and Cowboy Bob Orton, Junior. And
you mentioned Andre. You got any Andre stories?
Which one? What do you want?
You give me your best Andre story.
I got all.
Put us over the top.
Something outrageous.
Come on, Hillbilly.
Well, there's a lot of things.
All right, the most outrageous of the outrageous.
Well,
I can tell you.
There's a ton of things done. One time, he and I got on an airplane the day after Christmas in Miami, Florida. We were going to Hare Arena in Dayton, Ohio, because we were working. I was working this lovely match where I was making the most money I ever made in my life, and the match was like this: it was me and Andre and Captain Lou Albano versus Big John Studd, King Kong Bundy, and Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Nice.
We took it to the Gardens, every Gardens they had anywhere, LA Forum, everywhere. It was great. And I'd get in the ring, do my little and Studd and Bundy would beat the hell out of me because they knew as soon as I tagged the big man in, he's going to throw them around like rubber balls. And he'd beat the hell out of me. It was funny. But anyway, one morning we got up after that. It was on Christmas Day we did that, and nothing more depressing, brother, than being Miami on Christmas Day. Old dudes walking around with cigars and white socks up here, and it's 80 degrees. I'm from Kentucky. I want to see snow, right? I don't see no snow. I have to leave my home for that. So anyway, we get up and we both go to the airport, U.S. Air. He makes me sit next to him. Now I'm 315 at that time, whatever, and I'm sitting here on his hair, and he's sitting here, and he said, "Boss, let's have a drink." Okay, I look. Okay. Long story to the finish. We drank 56 bottles of that little bit of drinks. We started out with the vodka.
Right.
From the time they started feeding us to the time it was over. And the girls were mortified. They said, "Y'all drank up everything." I had 8.
Oh my God.
I drank 8 and I was shit-faced.
48 for
He drank that many.
48
And then he walked out into the snow, where it was snow. He was sweating, and he looked like a Yeti or some kind of. Steam was coming over about. Everybody around him was like, I said, if somebody scripted this, Spielberg, there wouldn't nobody believe it. I told the guys in the car, I seen it. I watched him do it. I drank eight of them. He was so big. His ring, his finger was so big. He had a ring that you could drop a silver dollar right through it.
Oh, easy.
How come you were never on the first WrestleMania card?
I got the knee injury.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I was set to go right there. I got my kneecap.
And you went to work with
February the 25th, 1985, I got my kneecap kicked right here. My kneecap went right here. I tore my left rectanal, my right rectanal, my patella tendon away from bone, and my medial collateral ligament all at once. It was like somebody taking a damn baseball bat. And that was a match of me and Hogan. It was Beefcake and Johnny Valiant, God rest his soul, at the San Diego Sports Arena. And that put me. I was laying out there in the hospital while that was going on.
Did you know who you were scheduled to work with?
No, I didn't know.
Okay.
No.
Did you know you're missing a huge payday, though, right?
I did know that.
Oh,
that sucks.
I recognize game, right, brother? That's right.
So they bring in the other hillbillies, right? And
well, Jimmy Hart and
right?
I, after I got hurt, went down. Mm-hmm. That's when they started bringing those in. That's when we brought in that Cousin Junior. I called this guy named Cousin Lanny Kane, who's the guy kind of broke me in with Dale Mann, and I wanted to return a favor. I said, hey, Cousin. I said, hey, man, I need somebody to come in and do it. He came in. He was a better hillbilly than you could ever be. barefooted. Right. He could do that mule kick and all that shit. We took him right out. We came right in, and I managed him. We were out at the Oakland Coliseum out there where all those Samoans live.
Was he Cousin Luke, right?
No. This is way before Cousin. This was Cousin Junior.
Okay.
Lanny King. And he got over. And then he started going absolutely crazy. He got like $10,000, $15,000 and he went crazy. He went like, I guess he thought he was Zuckerberg rich or something. And anyway, that's when Jimmy come in with Uncle Elmer, Stan Frazier, right? And Cousin Luke come later.
Right,
Gene
okay.
Lewis.
Gotcha.
So I thought I had a whole menagerie of hillbillies. It was great. I got to manage them. And then once I got healed up, they all just they won't.
So that's why. Well, how was your relationship with Elmer or Plowboy Frazier?
He was hard to deal with. Jimmy loved him a lot. I had a lot of hard time. He was just a carnival kind of guy, hard guy to deal with. Cousin Junior, of course, I loved him, and Luke, I loved him. But Elmer had his own thing. I've never Andre's story. You know, Elmer was 6'9", 430, 40 pounds, right? Yeah. He come to me and Bobby Heenan one time, and he says, me and Bobby sitting there, and he says, Bobby, and he's kind of shaking. He said, Bobby, why don't Andre like me? Heenan's, doing, doing the stuff. He got that red. He went, I don't know. He said, how do you know he didn't like it? He said, because he told me so. and Bobby said, well, good luck with that. Yeah, I want to be you. But he went off, and we heard him say that because Andre didn't like him. Few guys Andre didn't like. He didn't like Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah.
He didn't like the Sheik.
Macho.
He didn't like. The boys were telling me he didn't like Macho much. I guess
baby oil.
Baby oil.
We get one.
Hey, I asked Andre one time. He'd been going to Japan wrestling Giant Baba, and the Giant Baba was talking some smack about Andre and Andre wrestling. One time, and Andre said to him, and I said, did you go back? He said, yeah, I wouldn't finally work for him. He said, we had a big match. He said, he tried to do some stuff. He said, I suplexed him. I said, what happened on that deal? He said, coma. I didn't put him in a coma. I said, well, good luck. Okay, talk to you later, Andre.
Who didn't you like?
Like?
Yeah.
Anybody? Who
did you want to ruffle?
Your fellas?
Hillbilly liked everybody.
Actually, they never bothered.
Guy ever in the back.
No, I'll be honest with you. There were some, even the guys that people didn't like. There were some guys that got a lot of heat, like Adrian Adonis. A lot of people didn't like Adrian.
Oh, yeah, we've heard.
But, Adrian was great with me.
He was great with me.
And all I can do, guys, is go on how I'm treated.
Yeah, right.
If somebody's a heel to you, but they're a babyface to me, then I ain't going to treat them bad.
Well, did anyone treat you
now,
bad?
if I tell you that Scott Casey's a gorgeous hunk of little man, and you don't think he is,
he is.
Don't kill my pipe dream, okay? Right, JJ? I'll tell you right now.
Did anyone treat you bad, though?
Nobody really in the WWF tried to get in there and shoot on me or do anything.
Not
now,
Patterson,
when I worked down Patterson was great. But now, when I worked in Memphis there early on, down there, some of them old boys in there tried that, on me because I was kind of young and green. And, they tried to make you, they had ways that they could make you look bad. And one time, Moondog Spot, God rest his soul, but Larry Latham, remember he died? I wrestled him one night in some match somewhere, and Chief had him after the match over grilling him out real bad because apparently Strongbow, who was an agent, he'd saw him doing something in a match that was trying to make me look bad, which I didn't even get. I didn't give a shit because if I got beat or if I won, you know what I'm going to do? I ain't going to lay there like a piece of crap. If you beat me, I'm going to jump back up and say, doggone it, I'll do it again. And the people would come right back with me. Now, if you lay there like a sack of potatoes, then they're going to treat you like that. So I never really had, that was my deal, man. I didn't want, listen, I ain't taking this so serious to where I'm going to be in here and be mad at everybody. I mean, I had other guys I like to work with better than other ones. And, I mean, if you want to know some of the best big guys I worked with, I loved working with James Harris, the Ugandan giant. Bundy was as fast for 2 steps as any big guy I ever seen. He was fast. He was just
awesome.
fast. He was just sudden. I mean, I believe he could have if they could have got him right, he probably might could have played football because his first step or 2 was real good. Of course, OMG, Big George Gray, one man gang. He was wonderful.
Thoughts on Stud?
Stud was good to me, but I like John personally. But in the ring, there wasn't much we could do because our characters kind of were limited. I never will forget the night I told the boys, Rockford, Illinois. I'd been downtown that day messing around. We came out of Chicago, and McGuire. I had a little match that night. I was going to do something. I don't know what the deal was. It was whoever it was, and it was somebody I'd been working with, maybe Dino Bravo or somebody. Anyway, I got to the show, and I had my little coffee, my little action coffee, and I was tying up my boot. What's up, guys? How you doing? Andre come in. He says, "Hey, boss." I say, "What's up?" I say, "What's, brother?" He says, "You're working with me tonight." Hello. Oh shit! Now I've worked with him as his tag team partner, and that's great. But I know it could be a little dicey if you have to work him. And what had happened is John Studd had freaked out. John Studd had freaked out and had a mental breakdown because Andre was brutalizing him. And he had took off and was going to see psychiatrists, and I had to go in and work with Andre. Well, anybody that knows the business, if you fill in for somebody, it means you got to go over them. You got to beat them.
Really?
Because, yeah, well, I mean, if I fill in for... if me and you are supposed to wrestle,
right,
and you can't make it, and they make brother there come, they would expect me to beat him. So you can't just let me do it, because then people are going to feel cheated.
Right.
So... I beat Andre. I got to beat Andre everywhere.
At the Nassau Coliseum, right?
I beat him a lot of places. I beat one night I was somewhere and Dusty Rhodes couldn't show up, and I beat Andre in the same night and went back out again and beat a big boss man. Wow. And I told boss man, I said, I must be the toughest son of a bitch in the world. Because you see, I had to go over. But the thing with Andre, it's all how you do it to be a count out. You know, get him a count, knock him out. So but. That was the thing with Andre. I never had no problem. Back to you talking about John. John was good to me, and he was just, he just got on the wrong side of Andre.
So Andre really did rough him up then.
Oh man, he would throw them big chops on him, and he would make and he hurt him so bad. John would cover up, and that's the bad. You don't never cover up. He would cover up because he was really caving him in.
Oh my God!
Who sent him to the psychiatrist, Vince?
Andre did.
Andre sent him?
Well, I mean,
you need to go see doctor.
No, he beat the shit out
What
of him.
He did is he snapped out. What we'd call it cracking on the road. Like, well, did you hear what happened to the rotunda last night? He cracked. That means you'd crack and you'd leave.
Oh, my Lord.
Or that's what you'd say. I cracked it. That means
you.
you'd crack and you'd leave. You'd go home.
I'm picturing him going to the doctor.
Well, I mean, after you've been out there 45, 50 days or something like that happens, you want to go home anyway.
Yeah.
And so you just crack and you go home, and then the office would realize they were pushing you too far, because you got to realize they were booking us 3 shows a night all across the country. They had 3 crews: the East Coast crew, West Coast crew, the middle of the country, and we were
Buttermilk crew.
Buttermilk Run, and it depends on where you were, but you'd work a lot of days. So sometimes you'd go to TV and get your new booking sheet. And you wouldn't have no time off, and you just come off 28 days, and then you go right through to the next TV and you'd see guys you'd see them just about ready to
losing it.
Yeah, they lose them.
Yeah,
it was brutal.
But you know what? Now that I did it, it don't seem like I did it because it seems so distant ago and so far away. I'm happy I did it. I mean, but you can only do that when you're young. Yeah. There ain't nothing stronger, and I'll tell the audience out there ain't nothing stronger in nature than youth. Yeah, believe me. When you're young, you close to being Superman as you're ever going to be, even you, Scott Casey.
Agree.
I like when you wear them little tight Superman underwear.
Thank you.
You wear them nice
killing you right now.
Oh my God!
Killing? It's a compliment.
Putting him over.
Putting him over.
Was
It's
it-
better than putting him under.
That's right.
Hillbilly, was there ever any talk about swerving the fans and kind of having you turn on Hogan at any point? They never thought about that?
No.
You don't mess with.
No. You know what? And I'm so damn glad I did it because I didn't want to do that.
Right.
I just want.
You
to
were happy being a face.
I just want to be. I just
Interesting.
listen.
All right.
You don't want to be an evil hillbilly.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I mean,
evil
I
hillbilly.
kind of like it.
Wait a minute. What was it? The Hills Have Eyes? They were evil hillbillies, weren't they?
I'm surprised you didn't have to have plastic surgery.
Not
Smile
me.
all the time.
Not me.
Right.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
You were there during Randy Savage's prime, obviously.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, like all that.
Like Brother said over there, we were talking about earlier. I'm the one that got in from the South down there, and I'm the one that got the call in for Jimmy Hart. When Jimmy came in, Jimmy brought in a lot of boys from the South.
Yeah.
He brought in Rick Rude, got in Macho Man Randy Savage, Elizabeth
Right.
came in. I think maybe even Neidhart might have come in through there too. You know,
How true are the rumors about Randy being very protective of Elizabeth?
Oh,
Completely true.
1,000% true.
yeah.
Like TV dinners, 28 days, they're in the fridge, you're locked in.
Insanely
Like
jealous.
that? Really?
Insanely jealous. Of course, he knew me
Wow.
because I'm from down there where he's from, and I knew him for forever down there when they used to run that ICW. Him and his dad and his brother, and Bob Roop was down there. Cowboy Bob Orton. They were all, and I know Elizabeth too. Elizabeth was from a little town called Frankfort, Kentucky, by way of Lexington, and. Ken Patera would, if he can remember this, one night we were in Indianapolis, and we just got in one afternoon, and we just all got in the front of the hotel, and, Randy and Elizabeth were running around. Randy was the champ, the Intercontinental Champion, and Elizabeth was the thing. Everybody wanted to see Elizabeth. So, as we got ready to go into the building there, Ken was standing there, and we were getting ready to go in the hotel, and I walked by Randy, and I walked by Elizabeth, and I say, "Hey, champ, how you doing, Randy?"
Oh,
I called her champ.
He said, "Oh, I know where you're going there."
And Elizabeth but he loved that with me because he knew that's how I was.
Right, right.
Because I'm saying, listen, you ain't fooling nobody. She's drawing this thing, baby. Everybody wants to see Elizabeth, but he was that way, But I mean, hey, go figure.
Here's a strange question. The rock and wrestling cartoons. You get any scratch from that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Okay.
Yeah, I can pay.
Decent.
Listen, I found that they paid me. I can't say, Scott, that they didn't pay me for anything I ever did. They paid me for everything. It might not be what I want. Mm-hmm. But let me ask you something, boys. You guys and your listeners, check it all out, Scott. I can't put my ass on national television. I can't put myself on USA Network. I can't make action figures out of myself.
Yeah.
I can't promote myself. I can't make records. I've got gold records at home for things that we've did. JJ knows, and we'll probably do something like that here in a minute. Maybe sing a song that JJ wants to.
Yes.
If I can get old Merle JJ to sing with me. But look here, I can't do this myself. In other words, they've got to recoup their money. I ain't mad for somebody recouping their money, but I found out it's like the old deal. If they gave you thousands, they probably made hundreds of thousands. If they give you 10,000,
sure.
But you know what? I go back to what I said. I can't do it myself.
Right.
That's right.
Wouldn't have been there without.
Get out here and try to buy yourself some national television time.
Right.
Listen, I've had a job for Sirius XM Radio for 15 years. I've got my own show, Hillbilly Jim's Moonshine Matinee. Little Stephen Van Zant's my job. I didn't get that because I'm Jim Morris. I got it because I'm Hillbilly Jim.
That's right.
If it weren't for this business. So you ain't going to get me to say anything bad about this business. Now, some of it I think's horse shit, like everything is.
Sure.
But that was the way it was before, too. But I'm going to say this. Now, if I'm going to sit up here and do something and I'm going to put it down, but I'm still doing it, what kind of fool does that make me?
Absolutely.
If I don't like it, just quit it.
That's right.
You're right.
Now, that's just my deal. Now,
Right.
Now, listen, it'd be nice if we got all rainbows and moonbeams and Jimi Hendrix came back and somebody gave me a big merchandising check, little wing. We could do that too, But what I'm saying is, it just is what it is. I was just lucky and born in the right time. And I get to see. That's the reason I'm up to see you guys this weekend. I want to thank everybody that brought me up. My man over there, thank you for bringing me up here. We might talk about him a little bit more.
Nick Massey,
brother Nick Massey,
Captain
and he's got his other brother with him, Nick too. So if I said, I thought there were only hillbillies in Kentucky. You got two brothers named the same almost. That's dueling banjo stuff. But I mainly just come up here to see Scott. I want to come and hang out with Scott, and thank you guys for letting me come over and hang out with you guys.
No,
but
thank you
I don't
for
come
coming.
out. I don't come out and do these often. I don't enjoy it as much as I did. Once I get here, it's fine, but it's too hell and high water to get here all the time because you know how it is to travel.
Yeah.
And I'm not in a situation where I need to do it. Now, if I need to do it, it'd be different. But this is kind of a test on me. I ain't been out in a while for some health things I had to go through, but I'm feeling much better. And this weekend so far is starting out good. We're going to do a couple appearances, and we got a book signing to do. Scott's got a new book out. What's the name of that new book? The Last Ride?
The Last Ride.
The Last Ride. And I got a book out I had out last year, Hillbilly Jim Store. But, you know.
And then J.J. McGuire's got his book, right?
Oh,
My
the
Life
J.J.
in
the
Town.
oh.
We'll be selling these books at the big event, which you both are
The
at.
master prevaricator of all. Hey, are we going to sing a song?
Why don't you play it and sing it?
Well, give me some.
Can we get them up there with you?
I'd love to come over here.
All right, so let's get them set up.
Set me up there, boys. Hey, we'll talk some more if you want to. I don't want to kill all your time.
You're good, man. We got you set up like
I got
this.
to see that thing's really shiny. You need some rhinestones in there, man.
No,
some Dr. John feathers.
Oh my God.
Oy.
What about this right here?
Over the top. Dr. John feathers.
We got a microphone. All right. So what do you think we're
Well,
going to be playing there,
Well, I
JJ?
can do anything you want to. Jay, what do you want to do?
I'm going to watch you.
Do you want to play one with me?
JJ, you got to be playing. You got to get up there, brother.
Better than I do.
You got to get up there too, bro.
Hillbilly's the stars.
Oh, we're all in the stars, only in the skies, boys. Except for you, brother. You might be a star. Where do you want me to sit it? Right here?
Yeah, you can sit right here.
Can you hear me here?
Good to hear you.
Here y'all go both over there.
Mr. Miller, you good?
I'll sing the chorus with you. That's what I'll do.
What are we going to sing?
You're going to do your song. Don't go miss.
All right, we'll rock it out right now.
I got the hillbilly.
JJ. We're going that gun in
Hey,
JJ. We're going again. Hey, baby, I'm going down to shoot my old lady.
only on Monte and Pharaoh, brother.
Caught her hanging out with those boys in Long Island.
Yep. I love it.
Iced tea.
We'll do a little. You want to do the country boy song?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the one that I do. They played everybody knows it's the one they played in all the arenas you go in. It was kind of an up-tempo thing. The lady that wrote this song's name is Marshall Chapman. And the story on this is some people from the WWE offices called down to Nashville, Tennessee, and they called into this one particular guy's office. I think it was like Shel Silverstein. And they said, we got this wrestling guy who needs some music, some ring music. He's a country boy. Kind of an up-tempo thing, and we need you to write something. And Shel Silverstein said, well, at about that time, Marshall Chapman, the lady, opened the door and just walked in. She's going to write. He said, I've got the person that's going to write it right here now. She didn't know what the hell he's talking about. Because she told me the story about her writing it, about the don't messing with the country boy song. Don't go messing with a country boy, country boy, country boy. Don't go messing with a country boy, don't mess with a country boy. When I was a little bitty boy, baby, I cut my teeth on a big old tree. Mama filled my bottle from my moonshine still. My first meal was a bear she killed. A bear she killed, a bear she killed. My first meal was a bear she killed. Well, I grew, and by the time I was 10, I was 6 feet tall and a man among men. Love my work and I love my play. Hate the fool that'll get my way. Get my way, get my way. Hate the fool that'll get my way. Come on, James. Don't go messing with a country boy, country boy, country boy. Don't go messing with a country boy, don't mess with a country boy. Don't go messing with a country boy, country boy, country boy. Don't go messing with a country boy, don't mess with a country boy. Country boy, country boy, don't go messing with a country boy. How about that, ladies and gentlemen?
You want to give us one more? And
We'll give you one more. I'll let it be. I'll let it be the light. What do y'all want? Y'all want some country?
Freeboard!
We can do that too. We don't know, don't we, James? Here's one we're gonna do that I love so much, and I told this guy, I had him on my radio show one time, and I said, brother, to me, you were the greatest guitar players I ever knew because we used to get them in the garage. He said, "Oh, I couldn't play at all." I said, "BS." I said, "You had some of the best riffs in all of rock and roll."
Oh, who's this?
And well, there's a man who leads a life of danger. But every move he makes, he stays a stranger. Down every road he takes, another chance he takes. Odds are he won't live to see tomorrow. Sing it if you know it. Secret Asian man, secret Asian man. They're giving you a number, taking away your name. Cruising on the Riviera one day, sleeping in the Bombay Alley the next day. Be careful what you do, don't let the wrong road slip. Odds are you won't live to see tomorrow. Secret Asian man, secret Asian man. They're giving you a number, taking away your name. And how about this one?
Oh, nice.
Well, I hear that train coming, rolling round the bend. I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when, 'cause I'm stuck in Folsom Prison. Time keeps dragging on, and that train keeps on rolling on down to San Antonio. When I was just a baby, Mama told me, son, always be a good boy, don't ever play with guns. But I shot that man in Reno just to watch him die. When I hear that lonesome whistle, I hang my head and we're gonna finish it up now. Well, if they free me from this prison, if that railroad train was mine, then I'd move it on a little farther down the line, far from Folsom Prison. That's where I want to stay. And I'd let that lonesome whistle blow my blues away. How about that?
And with that, we want to thank Scott Casey, Stephen Miller, Captain's Corner, Bart Griggs from Wisteria Hall, my partner Jimmy Pharaoh, JJ McGuire, and the guest of honor, Hall of Famer, Hillbilly Jim.
Thank you all. Thank you. My pleasure.
Catch you tomorrow at the big event in New York where we'll all be there, and you can catch Monte and Pharaoh every Tuesday from 8:30 to 9 p.m. on Channel 115, and catch us every Thursday here from Village Connection Radio, 8:05 to 9 p.m. We'll see you next Thursday.
Later.
Long Island.